UN 영어뉴스 Why we can dream in more than one language. Sleep has a more powerful role in language learning than was previously thought. What does this reveal about our nighttime brain? Just after I began work on this article, I had a very fitting dream. I was hosting a party in a hotel suite with guests from the US, Pakistan, and other countries. Most of the guests were chatting away in English. One or two spoke German, my mother tongue. At one point, I couldn't find my son, and panicked. When I spotted him, I sighed a relieved, "Ach, da bist du ja. There you are," in German, and gave him a hug. If you speak more than one language, you may have had similar experiences of them mingling in your sleep. My own dreams often feature English, which I speak in daily life here in London, as well as German, my childhood language. But how and why do our brains come up with these multilingual dreams? And could they have an impact on our real-life language skills? Decoding our dream languages. At first glance, it may not seem surprising that many multilinguals who juggle different languages during the day, and even people who are only beginning to learn a foreign language, also use those languages in their dreams. After all, the language we speak during the day generally carries over into our night. A study of deaf people and people with hearing loss found, for example, that they communicated in dreams as they did when awake through sign language. A closer look at multilingual dreams reveals a more complex picture, however. For a start, instead of randomly replaying linguistic snippets from our day, our brain appears to match them up with all sorts of daytime worries, memories, and problems. It may even create entire dialogues in an unknown fantasy language, or in one the dreamers have come across in waking life. But don't speak in my dreams. I sometimes have lively conversations in Japanese, a language I've studied but failed to master in real life. Our brains pick up new words throughout our lives, and they can become mingled together in different languages. Many of us seem to categorize our dream languages in certain ways, by person, location, or life stage. For example, the people in the dream may speak the languages they would speak in real life, while dreams about one's childhood home tend to be in one's childhood language. Though the idea of common patterns has to be approached cautiously, since there have been only a few small studies of multilingual dreams. In addition, the dream languages may be layered with questions of culture and identity, as in the case of a Thai American woman who dreamed about shopping for a dress for her late sister and debating the choice with her nieces in Thai and English. There are also linguistic anxiety dreams, in which the speaker struggles to make themselves understood in a foreign language, has to catch a train or plane from one linguistic setting to another, or looks for words in a dream dictionary. A Polish study participant reported dreaming of an English word she couldn't figure out haphazard, then looking it up when awake. A Croatian participant dreamed of trying and failing to communicate with a stranger in Italian, German, and English before realizing they both spoke Polish and laughing with relief. Sleep researchers say that the exact mechanics and function of such dreams are quite hard to establish, partly because dreams are generally still quite a mysterious phenomenon. What is much better understood, however, is how and why our brains process languages and even learn new words in our sleep. This sheds at least some light on the puzzle of multilingual dreaming. Crunching words in our sleep. To understand the link between sleep and language, let's start with just one language, your own. You may think you mastered your native language long ago, but you are actually still constantly updating it. Even adults still learn about one new word every 2 days in their mother tongue. Obviously, when we are children, there's a lot of new word learning, particularly over the first 10 years. But we are doing this all the time. We just don't really notice, says Gareth Gaskell, a psychology professor who leads the sleep, language, and memory lab at the University of York. When we learn a new word, we continuously update our knowledge around that word until we have a firm grasp of it. Gaskell says he gives the example of breakfast, a word most of us use confidently. But when another similar sounding word comes along, it can renew our uncertainty around that existing word. At some point in the last 5 years or so, you would have learned the word Brexit, referring to the UK's vote to leave the European Union, and that's a strong competitor to breakfast. He says, when the new word Brexit competed with the existing word breakfast in people's minds, mix-ups happened. A plethora of newsreaders and politicians came up with phrases like Brexit means breakfast, and plugging ahead with a hard breakfast to use the new word appropriately and distinguish it from similar sounding words. We need to link it to our existing knowledge, Gaskell says, and in order to do that, you need to have some sleep. It's during sleep that this integration of old and new knowledge happens. During the day, our hippocampus, which specializes in absorbing information quickly, soaks up new words. At night, it passes the new information on to other parts of the brain, where it can be stored and connected to other relevant information. This helps us choose the right word in any given situation and suppress competing words. Tagging the mental lexicon, the process is essentially the same regardless of whether the word is in a first or second language, according to Gaskell. In the case of multilingual people, foreign words are also stored within that huge mental inventory and are chosen or suppressed in a similar way. You can imagine that you've got some sort of tag in your memories, says Gaskell. So if you've got your mental lexicon for German and English, each of the words you know will be tagged for the language, and you suppress half of those words and focus on the other half when you are talking. Shortly after starting work on this article, the multilingual author had a dream where she spoke to her son in German at a party. Is that what I was doing with my dream of a hotel suite filled with people speaking English and German, sorting through my store of languages and adding meaningful tags? It would be a nice explanation, but unfortunately, the integration and consolidation process happens during a phase known as deep sleep or slow wave sleep. This phase is characterized by slow brain waves and higher frequency spindles. Complex dreams like my hotel dream tend to happen during a different phase known as the rapid eye movement REM phase. Some people argue that REM sleep has a role to play in this whole consolidation process, and that its role is to tidy things up and maybe smooth over the rough edges, as it were. Gaskell says, referring to my dream, during which I slipped away from the party at one point to log on to a virtual Vips team meeting. He says, that's a really classic situation where some of your recent memories are linked in with much longer-term knowledge. It fits really nicely with the story of dreams helping to consolidate memories, but it is at the moment pretty hypothetical. What we do know is that aside from processing data and information, our brain can also learn new words while asleep. Mark Just is a research group leader at the University Hospital of Old Age Psychiatry and Psychotherapy in Bern, Switzerland, who specializes in the neuroscience of aging, sleep, and memory. He and his collaborators created pseudo words like Toffer and paired each with a German word such as Baum, tree, changing the meaning across participants to ensure the pairing was random and free of any accidental sound associations. They then played the word pairs to participants while they were asleep. The next morning, they asked them if Toffer would fit into a shoebox. This roundabout question acknowledged a known limitation of learning any new information when asleep. We can't generally use that information in a conscious, explicit way when awake. They couldn't consciously reproduce the knowledge and say, Toffer clearly means tree. Just says of the participants, they had more of a gut feeling for whether it was a large or small object. About 60% correctly answered that Toffer would not fit into a shoebox. Crucially, both words, Toffer and the German word, had to be played during slow wave sleep, and specifically during a peak of slow brain waves. When the researchers missed the peak, the pairing wasn't learned. Matteo Croma, a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Liege in Belgium, who specializes in sleep and cognition, co-authored a number of studies that add to this nuanced picture of how and when we engage with language in our sleep. Basically, the message is that you are able to learn words in other languages during sleep. Even new languages you never heard before, but you do it in a very different way than when you are awake, he says. First, he and his team discovered that when we are asleep, we can still tell fake from real language. Sleeping participants were simultaneously played a recording of real speech in their native language into one ear and meaningless pseudo speech into the other. Researchers recorded their brain activity using electroencephalography (EEG). While this happened, the EEG results showed that the sleeping participants' brains focused on the real speech, but not the fake one. However, during the dream intense alien phase, the participants tended to shut up or suppress the incoming speech. Chroma suggests this might have been because the brain was focusing on inner processes. When we are deeply immersed in dreams, we shut down from things that can perturb our dreams. In a separate study by the team, participants were played Japanese words in their sleep, along with sounds that hinted at their meaning. For example, the word inu, dog, was played together with a barking sound, and the word kane, bell, played along with the sound of ringing bells. Different words were played during two different phases of sleep: light sleep and the dream intense alien phase. Again, researchers recorded the participants' brain activity using EEG. When awake, the participants were able to correctly associate the words heard during the light sleep phase with relevant pictures, with a better than chance outcome. Pairing inu with the picture of a dog, for example. However, when it came to the words played during the alien phase, the outcome was no different from chance. Whenever we investigated alien sleep, so the phase where we have the most intense dreaming activity, we couldn't find solid evidence that there was learning. Kuroma says. He adds that this doesn't mean we can't learn during that phase, just that more research is needed to understand if it's possible. Playing the sounds of barking dogs or ringing bells, along with the words associated with them during the light phase of sleep, increased learning. Boosting daytime learning. Does all this mean we can effortlessly learn Japanese in our sleep, as long as we play a language lesson all night long to make sure we catch the right sleep phase? Not necessarily. It might actually backfire by disturbing your rest, Kuroma says. He also points out that in the study, participants learned the words much faster when they were awake than when they were asleep. It's way more efficient when you are awake, and they were able to use them more confidently because they had learned them consciously. Wakefulness is good for learning, and sleep is more to replay, not for new language acquisition, Kuroma says. It's an interactive process. It's complementary, meaning that you learn during the day, and during sleep you sort through this information, consolidate some of your memories, and try to put it in new context. Are there other ways we can use sleep to learn languages? The best way to do it is probably to learn a new language before going to sleep, and then play some of the words you just heard while being asleep, says Kuroma. Here the results are mostly that if you play them quietly enough, it will boost your learning abilities. But if you play it too loudly, it will actually lower your learning ability. So there is some fine-tuning. Just at the University of Bonn recommends studying new words during the day, but at night to focus on getting enough sleep. Then the brain will do what it needs to do. Problem solving in our sleep. When it comes to the potential role of multilingual dreams in this nighttime learning process, The researchers are cautious. It's very hard to determine how multilingual dreams might fit into this, says Just. That's partly because the wider cognitive purpose of dreams is still unclear. One idea, according to Just, is that they are more of a byproduct of the brain being active and sorting through memory traces. That does not mean dreams are completely unrelated to the language learning process, just that they are perhaps a consequence rather than the main event. It's entirely possible that during multilingual dreams, the brain is trying to connect those two languages, Just says, but the chaotic individual nature of dreams and natural languages makes it difficult to say anything more definitive. Chroma points out that REM sleep is associated with problem solving and emotional regulation. In a similar vein, dreams may allow us to try out new words or phrases in different scenarios, he suggests, or explore emotions around the languages we speak. Danuta Gabris-Barker, a professor of psycholinguistics at the University of Silesia in Poland, comes to a similar conclusion in an analysis of multilingual people's dreams, suggesting that such dreams can express fears and desires around learning a foreign language, including the yearning to be a native-like speaker. That idea would nicely chime with studies showing that wrestling with words or tasks in our dreams may help with creative wordplay and problem solving when awake, as well as emotional processing. But as Chroma and the others emphasize, it is a possibility, not proven fact. My multilingual dreams remain a bit of a mystery, then, at least in terms of their practical function. But understanding my brain's nighttime acrobatics has certainly left me in awe of the hidden effort it takes to learn even a single word. And I did learn one new foreign word over the course of writing this article, though not while dreaming. It's hypnopedy, French, for the act of learning in your sleep. I learned it from Chroma, the researcher in Belgium, who uses it in one of his articles. Several nights have passed since I first came across it. I wonder which tags and connections my nighttime brain has attached to it. French, Belgium, sleep and deadline. Perhaps now that could be the start of an interesting dream.